Thank you for joining us as we continue the Encompass webinar series. Today, we'll be hearing from Connectbase CEO and founder, Ben Edmond, as he discusses the bottom line impact of reducing telecom order fallout rates. Ben is going to share what you can do to transform your business by using automation to solve your fallout challenges, the impact of fallout from both a buyer's perspective and a seller's perspective, insights on how digitization and automation can transform your results, and 4 proactive strategies to reduce order fallout and connectivity solutions. For those of you that have joined live, we ask that you please send any questions you may have using the Q&A feature on Zoom. And with that, Ben, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chip. I just really appreciate the Encompass community, the organization, and the opportunity to share today and talk about a topic that I'm absolutely passionate about. So look forward to those questions, and thought I'd bring up a few slides to walk through the conversation and dive in. But stop me anytime if you have questions or the audience has questions. I'm going to talk about the bottom line impact of reducing order fallout, and it's a really important topic in our ecosystem. I'm going to look at it from really 3 perspectives. The buyer perspective in the industry, in the wholesale ecosystem, the seller who's providing the service from their perspective, as well as the end user experience, the business customer or the end user, and it really impacts all. And it's something that we as an industry have a great opportunity to address transparently and head on, and up level the customer experience associated with buying and providing connectivity out in the marketplace. And it's an important topic. I'll use an analogy before I get in to buying an automobile. If you think about this problem, put yourself into the shoes of what most of us have all done of buying a car or buying a truck or buying an SUV, and you go to an auto dealership and you spend the hours there to pick out the vehicle that you want. You do all the paperwork, you have it all ready. The dealer says, you signed, you're done. And then they tell you, the car that you're looking at in the front lot that you thought you just bought doesn't actually, belong to you. You can't have that one. We don't really have that in stock for you, even though you're looking right at it. And that happens in the telecom world all the time. Somewhere upwards of 20, 30, 40% in some segments. And it's an issue that costs this industry both direct money as well as indirectly through reputation and customer experience. We're going to talk about it, how we can really solve it, and why it's important to solve. So I'm going to go and walk through the agenda. I'm going to talk about 2 aspects of fallout. Fallout in the quoting experience, that upfront experience where you're going to go and get economics to something that you need as a buyer or a seller. And then order fallout. You made the decision, you're placing that order, like the vehicle analogy. I'm going to talk about the impact of fallout on your connectivity business from those perspectives, 4 proactive strategies to reduce fallout, and how Connectbase is really partnering with the ecosystem, both buyers and sellers, to inject data, automation, and quality into the process to up-level each side of the equation. I'm going to introduce a brand new topic for us, which is our location truth certification, where we're going to the next level and partnering with our service provider partners that want to present this certification as another level of trust in the process to deliver quality out there in the ecosystem. And we'll take questions at the end. So I'm going to start with what fallout means. When we talk about fallout, I'll start with the quoting fallout. And the number one is no immediate solution is available when you have an opportunity. And this has really manifested itself in the business to business market where you're trying to compete for RFP processes, either as a buyer in the wholesale community or a seller in the wholesale community, and you don't have a solution. Let's just make up a company like Starbucks or the post office or anyone that has lots of locations. The reality is when you put those locations in and you expect a result to see how much is it going to cost to deliver connectivity there and what solutions are available, when you don't have an opportunity to get that information, we call that fallout, when there's no response. And then you got to go through manual processes and go figure it out. Takes time, takes energy, and it has real implications to the overall economics of how this industry works. The second aspect of fallout, which is order fallout, is downstream from that process. You know, you've gone through your business to business opportunity and you've won your deal as a buyer or a seller, and you place orders for what you think the solution's going to be, and your customer is expecting those solutions. Order fallout is when those orders are placed, you're discovering there's uh, challenge in delivering the order either completely or with as expected. You know, we hear this term of special construction regularly in the industry. This is part of the process. You discover it after the order happens. It creates a challenge. Does, you know, the economics work for how it was structured? Or maybe you find out you can't enter the building because the building rights aren't there, or there's a railroad track in front of, you know, where you're trying to build to, or all kinds of things that happen in the order process, and it goes wrong. And it forces the service delivery teams to step back and try to solution and try to, you know, save the customer opportunity. Very expensive, very challenging customer experience, and unfortunately it's not a single digit really small percentage of time. It happens in a meaningful part of this ecosystem, and things that we should be doing as an industry working together to solve. Things from a policy perspective that the Encompass organization has been advocating for years to help this industry to navigate access to poles, building rights, you know, all kinds of different things that help the industry operate are all part of this mix. But we're going to talk about both of them and the impacts. I'll start with the quote fallout because most people feel a lot of pain around the order fallout, and it's pretty easy to understand that pain. But the reality is, in the quote fallout, there's a lot of pain and cost associated with this. One, it's resource intensive. When you don't have that solution understood and you have to manually go around to solve for it, whether it's construction processes, third party providers, and you're manually reaching out, log into portals, sending email, picking up the phone, whatever it is, it takes smart human beings that know how to navigate and get the answers, and that takes time and energy. The reality is most of our customers out there across the ecosystem are looking for, you know, the next level of customer experience, and that customer experience expectation is increasing collectively in the wholesale community, in the channel community, and in the direct enterprise community fairly intensively. And it has a cost on our business when we're not delivering and meeting those expectations. So time is one of the biggest factors for setting that customer experience expectation. Netflix and Amazon and others in the consumer world have trained the behavior to want what they want right now. And when you delay that by days, weeks, or even months, it creates a challenging customer experience. The delay in response time has a direct impact on your ability to get the overall bid out and win the opportunities that you're looking to, which directly lowers your win rates. There's empirical evidence that the time that it takes you to respond to opportunities and address the fallout, the faster bids back have a higher propensity of winning than the slower bids back. So even if there's differences in cost, the reality speed does matter in terms of meeting that customer experience expectation. Margin pressure is a big one. when you don't have a solution that you spent the energy of really thinking through what is your digital ecosystem that's going to address your opportunities, and you have to navigate a manual process on a one-off, you're not necessarily putting your best foot forward, and it drives the alternative selection that's not necessarily always the best outcome. Or you're making decisions around deals and taking things out of the mix that could have helped you win at a better rate, better positioning, or better chance. That puts pressure on the overall margins. Last but not least, when there's quote fallout, there's a manual, self-selection process sometimes where people are taking themselves out of the mix because they don't have the right solution, so they move on to the next, even though they could have proactively put the solutions into place and address the opportunities and missed an opportunity to win key relationships out there. All of that puts pressure on the business in terms of revenue, margin, and resources that is addressable. And when you go over the other side of the equation, this order fallout, it's much more direct, but just as impactful. Huge red flags from a customer perspective when you place an order and you're expecting delivery. Think of the Amazon delivery or the Walmart delivery or Instacart delivery that you're expecting. When you place that order, you expect you're going to get your materials. Telecom customers expect the same thing. And when you go back to them and you say, I can't deliver, or I can't deliver in the same time or the same money, it creates a really challenging customer experience and they have dissatisfaction associated with that. If you proactively know that it's going to cost $1,000, $10,000, or $100,000, it's going to take 90 days or 900 days, it is far better customer experience to set those expectations up front and prepare those customers instead of disappointing them with a different answer after the order is placed. What we see is one of the bigger impacts of order fallout is margin reduction. Because of that dissatisfaction, the customer pressure back to the providers to solve the problem means that they're going to the next best solution that they didn't have because the primary solution they picked and the economics they picked it at doesn't work. They're a lot of times keeping the economics the same, but having to put a higher cost solution in place, reducing the margins of the business. If you would have known it cost $1,000 ahead of time instead of $500 ahead of time, you could have put the appropriate margins in place and set the expectations and manage the business. Not always, but you have a better chance of doing that when you're proactive versus reactive. Order fallout leads to lost time and requires more resources. If you think about the world of service delivery and just the sheer amount of automation that our industry and others continue to put in place across the network, really to address the opportunity out there. There's been some fantastic work over the last 5 years across the board. But the service delivery team, a lot of times, is putting human capital, people to work for dealing with exceptions. And this is one of them, the order fallout process. You lose time, which you can't build the revenue while you're delaying your order for finding the solution. You're taking those resources and investing in manual steps to go find a solution, or try to change the conversation with the customer to help them understand what needs to be done. And a lot of times, unfortunately, it leads to lost business where they cancel not only the order fallout, but the associated orders with other portions of the network, which really has a big impact on the business. And when you think about these two worlds, a quote fallout and order fallout, you're really talking about something that costs this industry tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars every single year. And more importantly, leads to this perception of an inferior customer experience in some parts of our industry. And it is not 100% preventable, but a lot of this is preventable. A lot of this is making a decision to do things differently. We're going to talk more about that. From a strategy perspective, I'm going to walk through ways of reducing the fallout impact and the potential for having fallout. Number one is make and update on a continuous basis, whether it's monthly or quarterly, a plan for optimal coverage. In today's world, having an ecosystem is one of the competitive advantages for execution that you have. As a seller, you want to be in a connected state with your buyers. As a buyer, you want to be a connected state with your sellers, and you want to manage that for your reality. And I'll give you a great example. Let's pretend you're a regional network operator in the Northeast, and you have 1,000 on-net buildings. Those buildings have tenants inside of them that have locations across the country. And your propensity of winning is best when they're headquartered there in one of those on-net buildings connected with your fiber, and they want you to serve in other locations where you need a partner to go and serve those locations. One strategy is to react to that as it comes in and go and figure those solutions out and take the time and energy as you react to it. Another strategy, my preferred strategy, is to use a proactive approach. Look at all those locations from the tenant perspective, see what partners are optimal for covering those other locations, and make sure you're in a connected state and you have optimal coverage to serve them. So when an opportunity comes in, you're putting that opportunity in your CRM, you're connecting it to your CPQ, the CPQ is running the quote, it has a response, not only for your on-net buildings or your near-net construction buildings, but also your off-net buildings, all in one seamless flow. Your win rates elevate, your customer experience elevates, and you mitigate your risk for coming into challenges because you're proactively planning and how you're executing. The second step in the equation is that automation. You can't just take a Excel spreadsheet or a KMZ file once and have a piece of data and expect that data to live and breathe and be kept up to date. It needs to be in a connected state. You need a system of record, whether it's Connectbase or something else, that system of record and getting it to a connected state across the APIs. So you're having a curation of the data. So it's being updated daily, real time, monthly, whatever it is really important that you think through how you're maintaining that state. Going back to that Northeast regional network with 1,000 buildings and their off-net partners that extend them across the rest of the country to serve their tenants of their enterprise customers, you want to make sure that you're not just doing that once. You're putting it in a system of record, you're keeping connected, and as those partners grow their reach, change their products, add speeds, update their pricing, that flows systematically to you. So you don't have to ask for it. It just happens when you're intersecting. Third in the equation for proactive strategies is really to think about optionality. When you have options and you have a go-to backup in case that is risk associated with the primary. If you only have one solution, that's it. But ultimately, when you plan your coverage out and you really think through optimal ways of serving, think about what that secondary or backup plan is, whether it's a different access medium, a different provider, talking through with the providers, programs that can be done together, but have that expectation that the world is not fully built out. The world is complicated and expensive. So you want to have those backup plans in place and thought through, and once again, connected back to the automation in the system so you're curating what those backup plans are. Lastly, from a strategy perspective, as a buyer, when you think about this from a wholesale buyer perspective, ways to mitigate the fallout potential that you have that's going to help your business, you want to hold your partners accountable for better, more transparent, and more granular information around the ability to serve. For decades, we've had these concepts around special construction. And it's my contention that the special construction can be something that is proactively thought about, understood, digitized, and communicated upfront in the quoting experience. So when the order is placed, it is a clear, known thought process. Not after an order is placed, a site check is done, and then a surprise bill comes in for $10,000. Creates all kinds of challenges. If we as an industry decide to make it a point where we want to elevate the experience and the ability to execute, we need to start digitizing these things, just like we've done inside the network, gone deep, understanding the attributes. We need to do that for our market and understand those expectations, whether it's timing, whether it's cost, whether it's location, impediments. Impediments is one of my favorite topics this year. If there's a railroad in front of the building, you want to know that you have to cross that before you were making a decision. If you're making the decision consciously with that information, great. Now you can plan for the time and the cost and the energy needed to execute. If you get it as a surprise once an order's placed, it's really hard to react. The railroad is the railroad. You can't just go build your fiber across it. You have to think about what the crossing points are, how much it's going to cost, getting the permit to do so. So as much as we can think about those impediments, in addition to cost, in addition to timing, in addition to the attributes that matter for making a decision, you're really building that stronger digital ecosystem with your partners. They're going to win more as a supplier to you, and you're going to be able to elevate your ability to deliver and reduce fallout. How do we help? So we help in a number of ways. One, advocate. So just like Encompass is an advocate for our industry, bringing a forum to learn about policies, bring people together, we want to educate the market on something that we think matters. And in this case, we think it matters. It's addressing a core customer experience issue that is solvable. We want to help service providers, whether you're buyers, sellers, or both, leverage Connectbase and our ecosystem to identify, manage, and really grow your total addressable market from a location and a digital ecosystem perspective. So if you're that Northeast regional provider with 1,000 on-net buildings, look inside those buildings, understand where your market truly is from a construction standpoint, from an off-net partner reach, and make sure there's a digital record in a relationship with every single aspect of that, and really embrace that from a strategy standpoint. Put it into a system of record. The next step, the automation. Our platform, the Connected World, helps manage building lists, leverage providers right away, near-net analysis versus line of sight. So you elevate quality, flagging impediments, connect across the API so there's real-time updates. Working collaboratively with partners to push deeper into that attribution. Where are the network interconnections? What is the install? What is those special construction charges? And put it in a system of record so as you're interacting with that as a buyer or seller, it's there at your fingertips. You're not waiting, you're not wondering, you're making the best possible decision. How Connectbase ecosystem helps is also the optionality. We're up over 300 service providers strong now, digitally connected across this ecosystem. That optionality as a buyer or a seller, once you connect in and you have a provisionable fabric to go across, gives you the opportunity to really think about maximizing your ability to serve your market, whatever that market is, whether it's rural Alaska or downtown New York City. How do you make it purposeful about you, set rules and build preferences associated with your particular positioning in the business? Our platform and ecosystem tools and know-how help you do that. And lastly, when you put things from a system of record perspective, when you have a set of tools, when you have connected APIs, you can get the analytics to really help start measuring and understanding your business. Do you have full coverage? Do you need to grow it in California versus Florida? Understanding how to navigate that ecosystem is best done when you're looking at it from a data perspective, and then having the conversations with your partners as partners so you can elevate each other's business and take it to the next level. Getting into ways to prevent fallout, to increase wins, and differentiate your business over your competitors. We've introduced, a concept we're super excited about. As It's a brand position we've had, really from day one since I started this company, around location as ground truth for how this industry operates. The unit economics, the ability to serve, the competition, the demand are really all best viewed from the perspective of inside the four walls of the building, which might be completely different than the next building and the next building and across the country because of the fragmentation and the capital intensity and the different realities across the market. So what we've created here in partnership with our service provider customers is the ability to have location truth. And it's introducing a better way to ensure accuracy, and that accuracy is conveyed across the ecosystem so a buyer knows that this has been through a very rigorous requirements process. And as a seller, you can position that you've proactively done the work, that you've put yourself in a position to understand that you want to elevate the conversation and differentiate yourself from other providers. And what we've done is take this badge concept and insert it right into the platform. So as a seller, you can show up in your response, not just with a price and a term and a speed, but also that this location, has truth to it. You've been through the rigorous process. This is just a screenshot to show an example of, as you're going in, there's a badged relationship with Blue Ocean, our fictitious service provider, that example that we use all the time, that they've been through this process as a supplier. And then you can set preferences with the rules. So you're picking location truth over somebody that hasn't been through the process as a way to elevate the conversation and focus on quality and customer experience, and the overall reality that the economics of missing this opportunity of not delivering the solution that you said you're going to has a cost to it, not just the direct dollars of the bandwidth, but the overall cost of the relationship. And mitigating the fallout improves the overall revenue and margins of businesses. When the quote is actually coming, not just at the supplier level like they showed, we're inserting the badge once again that the supplier has been certified at this particular location, and they're standing up to the location truth that they truly can serve this location, and they've been validated that they can serve this location for you. Simple, but a powerful way of communicating a problem in the industry and addressing a problem in the industry in a really meaningful way that should help everyone operate. Why should providers care that are suppliers? Standing out, addressing fallout, whether it's with the location truth badge or through processes themselves, it separates from the overall industry problem that is a problem. It's a way to gain new relationships. Buyers care about quality. Buyers care about what they're doing to deliver the end result. And this is a way to garner new partnerships. Reducing the fallout cost from a supplier, missed opportunities, canceled orders, delays in time, and you're promoting a commitment to quality, which further helps you drive win rates and improve margins in your business. As a buyer, we believe that the badging process and following the systematic way to attack fallout, really helps you quantify quality and make decisions faster and better. It helps you identify the partners that you want to build long-term trusted relationships and establish those preferred suppliers, and significantly reduce fallout to a much lower number, to really only the outlier exceptions, instead of having it be 10, 20, 30, even 40% in some cases in the industry. And the biggest benefit is really improving time and cost, in the equation of delivering connectivity. As a buyer in the wholesale ecosystem, you're buying to support winning an enterprise deal and packaging it up and putting out there an overall solution. You are improving your win rates, you're improving your margin by addressing fallout, and systematically looking at it with the tools and the process and the know-how, including the location truth badge. Chip, it's been a privilege to communicate, what I think is a really important topic that will help us continue to elevate our ecosystem and the industry's ability to deliver the customer experience I know we all want to. Happy to take any questions if there's any questions and talk more about it.
Well, Ben, this was an extremely helpful and practical, pragmatic, but also very strategic, sequential way to address telecom order fallout, to be proactive, to plan. And I can't thank you. And I think this will be very helpful for anyone who has watched the webinar, and for our member companies. This is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, and the market and the deals are made. And this type of strategic relationship building and strategies to minimize any of the fallout and maximize the customer benefit and relationship.
I appreciate that very much. I couldn't agree more. It's a problem that costs the industry a lot of money, but also a reputation, and it's something that we can address together.
We do have a question, Ben, and the question is, what is the process to become certified with location truth?
That's a great question. So our product team has built a process that collaborates with the service provider suppliers that are clients of Connectbase. Step one is becoming a client of Connectbase and using our system of record, the connected world. Two is going through a validation process. Typically what we have, and we've had over 300 suppliers, come join the connected world platform. But what we do is we work collaboratively with the service provider to understand where they physically serve network. This is typically conveyed in outside plant inventory information. We validate that. We use our spatial tools and our data processes to provide feedback back to the supplier, either questioning or commenting, or where we see anomalies and errors, give them a chance to respond and update. We then do the same process with what we call near net. We have a rigorous process that looks at from an access point of the network, building it out, how it follows right away to serve a particular location, flagging for impediments. We run through that process in a data-driven way on our side with our tools. We provide that back to the service provider. We give them a specific set of requirements to go through to validate the ability to serve. We then go back and forth, certify it, and put it into the system of record, and go through an active management process of that. Once it's gone through all those processes, then we can get to the certification. But it's really about using data and the tools to elevate the quality. So if somebody has an on-net building in Montana, yet has no physical plant in Montana at all, and is a complete anomaly in their inventory system, which I'm using as an example because it's real, and their closest plant is in Michigan, those are things that we pick up and flag at a high level macro. But it's also just as important when it's in 123 Main Street and you're showing your records where on a map is 4 blocks over, that's an issue. And we're correcting those things in this discovery process and validation process to make sure there's absolute rigor in where the network can serve and does serve.
That is very helpful. Let's see, do we have any other questions? I do want to remind everyone that as we wrap up this segment and the recording, it will be published for on-demand viewing. Ben, I hope that you can use the recording to send out, and we'll be doing the same with our member companies to make sure that we maximize the interaction and the engagement and the knowledge of Connectbase and what you're doing.
Absolutely. I appreciate that opportunity, Chip. And once again, just appreciate the forum and the opportunity to be a member of Encompass and participate in making this industry amazing.
Well, thank you, Ben. And I hope you have a great holiday and that you and your family and your work all go well.
Likewise. Thank you,
Thank-
everyone.